Okay, let's talk about manual clutch, just some preparation things that need to be done before you install the pressure plate, clutch, and of course the flywheel. This isn't the right flywheel. It's out being machined right now. One thing that needs to be done probably in the removal process is be sure and look over the starter ring teeth. And you got to look clear across the entire starter ring. It won't be worn clear around. It'll be only worn in sections, like about 2 to 3. I'll replace the whole flywheel. Sometimes you can get a torch, heat up the ring, knock it off, buy a new ring. So, okay. Let's clean now some areas. Granted, this isn't the right flywheel. And when it comes back from the machine shop, it'll have nice, beautiful stone, smooth finish. This one here has got some heat marks and other things. It ought to be resurfaced if it were to be put back in use, but it's not. We're also going to clean the pressure plate, because when these are stored, there's a little oil film they put on it, and we need to get rid of that. We don't want the new clutch lining to absorb that oil. Some even call it a plastic coat or cosmoline. So we clean this off. It's just like a brake disc, okay, a rotor. Same idea. You should be cleaning those off as well, a drum as well. And again, if I had a new flywheel, I would definitely be cleaning it off and getting any leftover residue from the machine shop, because they have a coolant that floods while the grinding is going on. It's actually a pretty neat process. We also ought to clean the bearing retainer, where the throwout bearing will slide. Okay. Again, it's not the exact right bearing, throwout bearing for this transmission, but I think it'll do for our demonstration purposes. If you want to spray off that or put on your towel, either way, we want to get all the grit, all the old clutch lining, all that kind of stuff off. We want to have that all clean. Because what we're going to put on here is some lubrication. Some folks like a certain grease, some folks like anti-seize. I'm going to use anti-seize. You don't have to get too carried away, but it ought to be good and clear around, okay? Because again, this throwout bearing is going to slide back and forth. If I had the right throwout bearing, I'd be hooking it up to the fork. Sorry, but that's where we're at today. But that's going to slide back and forth. Alrighty. So a nice clean surface for the throwout bearing to ride on the bearing retainer, this sleeve, if you want to call it a sleeve. That's a nice little thing to do for smooth clutch operation. Okay, I think that's the only thing we'll talk about for lubrication. Back to the flywheel and clutch pressure plate. Once these are clean, of course, you have to decide, well, which side of the clutch disc goes towards the flywheel. Well, I can tell you, 99% of the time, you'll have a hub. One side's flatter than the other. This hub will fit inside the pressure plate. So you're going to bolt this assembly together onto the flywheel of the vehicle. The flat side always goes towards the flywheel. That's the easy way to remember. In fact, sometimes there's a sticker on here to help remind you. Again, the flat side goes to the flywheel. This will go up. They often supply you with a dummy shaft. Okay, and that dummy shaft, of course, will go through the middle. And the whole purpose of the dummy shaft is to center the disc, because it's all over the place. It's going to center the disc with the crankshaft. Because the crankshaft, you're going to install the pilot bearing. Okay? I can't hold that so well. We're going to try that. Okay, so we're going to center the disc with the crankshaft because this pilot bearing sits in a pocket in the center of the crankshaft. So pilot bearing, we already talked about throwout bearing, flat side. Obviously you're going to want to inspect starter ring teeth. You've only got one chance to do it, and the only way to change that is with the transmission removed. We'll close with one last thing to at least lubricate. A clutch fork. Of course, a clutch fork sits inside the bell housing, and it's got a lubrication point. So some folks will put grease in this little hole, this little divot. They might even put grease here with a slave cylinder contacts. You don't have to here, but this is a good one because it's inside the bell housing, okay, and it's moving the throwout bearing. So you might want to clean that, lubricate it, maybe put some lubrication on these little points here that would contact where the throwout bearing is being moved by this fork. Maybe we'll share one last thing. Before you put in your flywheel bolts, it's a good idea to Loctite them, and it's not just to make sure they don't come loose. The Loctite is also going to act as a seal, meaning quite often the holes that the bolts go into are open to oil, okay? And this will act as a sealer, so oil can't get in here and start kind of weep or wick out of here, and then oil slightly starts to migrate out and maybe get on your new clutch disc. So again, the thread locker is more about sealing than it is keeping the bolts tight, because they normally will stay tight. Well, that's our preparation video for installing a manual clutch. Good luck, everyone.